Wow, what a great word once again to explain to us what does it mean when we say that God is long suffering. And Jen, I know listening to that, some of the key points that that you have. I think
I wrote a
you wrote a
lot
lot, but
actually.
yeah,
Yes, and I love that. Uh, I thought, just long suffering, patient. I know I already know what he's gonna say, but then when he started to unfold, that God is actually patient, in fulfilling his promise, and he is patient towards us, and he is working behind the scenes, patiently busy working, to fulfill his promises towards us, and he's patient towards us to be ready to receive
yeah,
the breakthrough, and also patient in making the external circumstances work, so that we would, when we receive that breakthrough, it would be a blessing to us. The
exactly.
timing has to be perfect, and only God can do that. So
Yes,
yeah.
and only God could do that. No, once again, let's talk about this and let's go back to what it means. What is the meaning of the word long suffering? Let's start with
Yes,
that
that's
first, and
right.
then let's connect when we say God is long suffering. I think if you look at this text, literally, the word long suffering is made up of two Greek words actually. So going back to that, I don't want to bore you with this, but this is very quickly, just very important. It means long and temper. Actually, when you study the original context. So literally it means actually when you look at this, it means long tempered. Okay? So long tempered. So when you say long suffering, it is long tempered. What do you mean by that? To be long suffering then means that then it's to have self restraint when one is steered to anger.
Oh
Ooh,
wow.
wow. So that's what it means, actually. So understanding this, so long tempered. Also, a long suffering person does not immediately retaliate or punish. Rather, he has a long fuse and patiently forbears. Yes. All right. So this is not me. This is, I got it from the definition. All right. But yet, when you look at this long fuse, patiently forbears, it doesn't immediately retaliate or punish. So this is the meaning of that. So now when we say God is slow, God is long suffering, you overall you take that meaning in there. Okay, that God is what, slow to anger, perfect in His timing.
Yes.
Okay, so He's slow to anger, perfect in His timing, and when he works in our lives. And here's what it is, and it's a good example, Jen, and let me share this to you what had
Yes.
happened today. Of course, we know that we're gonna break the fast
Tonight. We're
tonight.
excited.
We're excited, and of course we're excited to pray. And what we did was, of course, we ordered ramen, and we used DoorDash as the delivery service.
Yes, yes.
So we ordered ahead of time, and guess what? The ramen came, and guess what happened? So I would say about what, almost 50% of the broth were spilled
In the bag.
in the bag. so, eh, so no more broth, and you wanted to eat some ramen.
Yes, ramen cannot be eaten without the broth.
So it's just gonna be just the noodles without that. It's no longer a
It's
ramen.
not ramen.
Okay, so we called, and of course we were a little bit disappointed with that. Okay, but of course we're trying to be patient, remembering that the topic is about long suffering,
Suffering.
having a long fuse, okay, and not retaliating. And then after that, we called DoorDash, and they said we are sorry about this. And by the way, it took 45 minutes almost for the
Order to
food
come. Yeah.
to come. So we called and they said we apologize and we're gonna reorder this, or you wanted this
Redeliver.
redelivered or reordered. So redelivered rather, or refund you the money that you spent. And I said, we want to eat.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, just reorder. So we waited for another 45 minutes, and then
Good thing we're still not breaking the fast.
yes, and guess what? When the food came, guess what? It's a wrong order. Instead of two ramens,
One.
got one. So now the level of anxiety is going up, of course, but yet we keep on reminding what a timely lesson for us tonight.
Yes. And a great illustration
And
for
then a
the
great
point today.
illustration for everyone, that in the midst of that, I'm feeling, God is reminding me about this. Okay, either I'm gonna retaliate in anger when I call back, or I'm gonna go and learn from these attribute of God that we're talking about. So, yes, it took a lot of grace of God to call back and explain what's going on and to be able to calmly respond. But it happened by the grace of God. Amen.
Yes.
So, long fuse, self restraint, simply because by the grace of God. And to be honest with you, Jen, at that moment, I'm in the second order when it was really messed up again. There's a lot of justification for you to be mad,
Yeah.
and because of what had happened, but yet I keep on remembering this lesson today. I keep on
Very
remembering
good.
this lesson
Yes,
today.
that's very good. I think I wasn't tested on that. He was, because he gets hangry mode. he's hungry. He gets hangry.
Yeah. But by the way, we didn't eat
We
the
haven't
ramen.
eaten yet.
So
Okay,
we're
so we just ordered ahead because it's gonna close. The store's gonna close early, so yeah, that's why we ordered ahead. But yeah, so it
yeah,
was
and I think when we talk about long suffering, it's not just the patience. I think it's not just God being patient. And I think when Bless wrote here, mapasensya or mapasensyoso in Filipino, that means long suffering. But I think it's more than that. And I think that's just one aspect of this trait. And I think I like what Pastor Phil said. It is actually, when you look at the text, and let's read that on the screen so that we'll understand, the Lord is not slow in keeping his promise. That means not slow. That means he is not stagnant. He is not, what do you mean?
not doing anything.
Not doing anything. And I think he is not just being patient, but it's not just doing anything. But I think what I understand more about this is the timing
Yes, that's right.
that God works for us to be able to, appreciate. And also what I like what he said, that when when God comes at a perfect time, when we are ready
Yes.
as well to receive the breakthrough that we're praying. Because sometimes if God is not careful, because the slowness is not because God cannot do it. The slowness is because, again, he is seeing and watching everything is in a perfect time. Just like when Jesus Christ came, Galatians says, in the fullness of time, Christ came here on earth. But I think that's where everything is working together. Timing is very
Yes.
important.
When all the pieces are in the, he puts the pieces together, because there's different pieces that he puts together. And only God could do that, putting the pieces together. In this character of God, he is patient with us. That's what I love about what God's God is long suffering, meaning he's patient towards us. I know, just like what you said a while ago, the example of us having being easily angered, or we could retaliate immediately, but our God is not like that. And
Yes.
that's wonderful.
And that is wonderful. And I think that's so overwhelming
Yes.
to process at this moment. Because here's what it is. I wrote some things here, three things. Our struggle with the concept of long suffering, just like what I wrote yesterday about our struggle in the concept of justice or God being just. I think number one is this. Here's our struggle, because we are impatient people.
Yes.
We don't like to wait.
That's right.
More and more as we, move into progress, for lack of a better description, haven't we noticed we are creating an instant culture, an instant generation? Everything is so available.
Yeah.
That's why I think this long-suffering attribute is very important. Because right now, people are irritated when they have to wait 30 minutes. Because their order was late 30 minutes. People are irritated. You're watching all of this video. And that's what I do. Sometimes I do go to YouTube and watch all of those stuff. And you would see that people are shouting and being angry because they're waiting for 1 minute. So, because we are impatient.
All right.
And I think that's why when you say God is not slow, God is on time. And his timing and our timing is not the same.
Yeah.
And I think we need to understand that.
Right.
Because there's a time and season for everything, the Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We don't like to wait. That's our struggle. And I think for me, I'll be honest, that's me. I'm impatient most of the time. And I think understanding these attributes helps me now, that if that is the character, one of the attributes of God, or attributes of God, the many attribute that he has, then it has to reflect on me. All right?
I like what Myra said.
Okay.
In fact, it's really good. It's amazing that God. Oh, hold on. Not that. No,
There you
yeah,
go.
the other one. The slowness is not on God's part. I know it's not God. The slowness is because we are not ready to respond the right
There
way.
you go.
God is actually patient with us.
And because he loves us, he's not slow. It's because you are
You
not
are
getting
slow.
it.
We are slow. He
That's
is
why-
not slow. We are slow.
That's why he cannot give you what you've been praying for. It's because it might hurt you. That's why he's
Exactly.
holding it back. It's not because he cannot give it.
Yes, because we're not ready to
Sometimes
receive.
we're not. Mhm. And also, that's why, that's the first. We are impatient. Number two, we easily give up as well.
Yes, that's right.
So, and I think long suffering is that he wants us to, long suffering is, again, if you read the Bible, long suffering is that forbearance, right? That you move, you go on. So now that's missing.
Persevere.
You're persevering. And again, so many times you read the Bible, that's part of that. Persevering when it's difficult. Persevering when things are not working out. Persevering that the relationship is going to work out. Persevering that you're willing to humble yourself for a relationship to work out. Not giving up. Today, people are just a hint of suffering, people give up. And it's just sad.
I guess the perspective here is that, sometimes we think we are the one who is trying to be patient towards God because, we're waiting, right? But you have to
I like
understand,
that.
it is the opposite, the other way around. God is waiting on us, being patient towards us, long-suffering towards us, because we are stubborn, because we are not obeying, because we are not ready to receive His promise and what He will do in us. And so I think we have to shift our perspective, because sometimes we're thinking God is slow, God is not answering, God is not fulfilling, but in fact, it is us.
Yes. And the last one is that we reject any concept. Here's our struggle with this concept of long suffering, is that we reject any concept or of difficulty or suffering. And for us, when we go and where we have difficulty, we look at that as a curse from God. We look at that as God abandoning us. We look at that as if, God is mad at us. But when you read the Bible, it's not. Suffering is part of our work. Walk with God, and the way sometimes God's work in us and through us.
That's right.
Yes. That's why James said, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. Because again, we have to embrace this. Don't reject when there's difficulty. Maybe God is allowing that is because when James said, let's read that. And here we go. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And again, forbearance, connected to long suffering. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature, complete, and not lacking anything. Wow.
Yeah.
So
God is our ultimate example of what it means to to have long suffering, to have that attribute of long suffering. In fact, I remember you said if we easily give up, God doesn't easily give
that's
up.
the reverse. While we are impatient, He is patient. When we easily give up,
He perseveres towards us. Can you imagine? He's being patient with us. Like, I know sometimes, with your kids, if you have small kids, you are already, that you're willing to give your kids stuff, and, but your kids are not ready yet. And so you're like, I'm willing to give this to you, but you're not yet ready for a car of your own or something like that, But God is already willing, and He is very patient. He's persevering,
Yeah.
even if we go our own way, even if we're being stubborn towards God, He's very patient with us. He is persevering in this relationship. Can you imagine that?
yes. And the last one is that we reject any concept of difficulty or suffering. Total reverse, because He suffered at the cross for us.
That's right. That's a very good point.
That's, if you wanted to understand long suffering, timing, patience, slow to anger, that's the picture of the cross. While we are rejecting the concept or even the idea of suffering, but God embraced it because with a purpose, again, of what? opening a relationship with us,
Yes.
redeeming us.
Yes.
That is the kind of God that we serve.